what happens when Doctor Who becomes too woke? What happens when there is way too much messaging? Well, this is what happens. People start to notice, and BBC start to talk about it as well. Hello and welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Shout About It with me, Rachel, the Queen of the Woke, as crowned by one of my haters. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, switch on the notification bells so that you know I am releasing another video. Thank you to everyone who's joined me already. I cannot run this channel without you. So, I'm going to have to do that again. So, this isn't talking directly about Doctor Who per se, but we are going to talk about Doctor Who as well. It's more about the BBC and the fact that this is now being said. So, Star Whovian on X or Twitter tweeted this on May 30th. The BBC just blasted Doctor Who on live radio for being too woke and alienating older fans of the show. Doctor Who is finished. Hashtag RIP Doctor Who. So this is a very big deal if this is starting to happen. I noticed over the last sort of 8 weeks that the left, or what I would perhaps deem to be the far left, like Metro, was starting to recognize that there were potential issues happening within Doctor Who. And I was like, oh, if they're noticing now and they're getting a little bit worried about it, now we've got a very clear issue that is happening within a franchise that the BBC say, according to their audit, is one of their top 5 earners. And the thing is, the taxpayer fund the BBC. We pay through it through our taxes, and we also have the TV license that we also pay for. We fund it. And a lot of people don't want this kind of thing within entertainment in general. It remains this sort of thing that we've been getting in Doctor Who really remains in Soapland, where they can address those issues without the messaging, because it's supposed to replicate real life. So when it comes full circle and people start commenting on it, we've got a problem. We've got a problem. It's not just like someone who, like me, who is perhaps a bit more central, and then people who are on the right who are saying it. Now people on the left. Well, I've got the audio clip for you.
But in terms of like how many people are watching and what Doctor Who represents now, I had a really interesting text. This is from Andy, who says, I'm a guy who considers himself of the left. Most of my friends are women. Some are trans, some are gay. But even I cringe watching an episode of Doctor Who. It's no longer a family show about space and time travel.
And I would say I agree with that. So someone from the left is writing into the BBC to say, this is a problem. This is an issue. I am having trouble watching this because of these issues. It's very interesting.
Literally a bunch of memes telling us that white straight men are the source of all evil in the universe.
That's true. We saw a lot of the characters in this series and the last series be white men who were the issue. They were the problem. They were the villains. All except for the story and the engine. But in the story and the engine, the guy got a complete reprieve. He had no comeuppance whatsoever. And I suppose in the end, Conrad didn't really get much of a comeuppance either. But he did at the end of Lucky Day. And he was purely the villain.
It's aimed at 12-year-old girls, but watched by a declining number of people over the age of 40.
Yep. And they're not meeting the target that they really want to meet. They did the little questionnaire by the YouGov survey, and it just didn't seem to be resonating with the people who they wanted it to resonate with.
If Doctor Who is dying, it's because the BBC has killed it. Yes, there were always stories that had messages or storylines about the environment or the misuse of power or intolerance, But now it has just become an intolerant program condemning most of its viewers simply for existing. Now,
And that is 100% correct. I don't know about condemning people for simply just existing, but what this person, Andy, his name is, says is true. It has alienated the majority of its audience by doing the messaging in the completely wrong way. I've said it before. It's not Soapland where you can put this sort of thing in. This Soapland exists to do that. Doctor Who exists to talk about sci-fi, history, and adventure and time travel. It's supposed to be escapism. It's supposed to be enhancing our imaginations, not to get on a soapbox and a political stomping ground. But that's what it's been doing. Classic Who never used to do it in that way. It always used to be integrated and it prioritized story over the message.
I it's interesting because I watched when I watched this 20 minutes, it was just kind of randomly on. I was pottering around, it was on. I didn't feel as strongly as Andy feels, but I did notice like the diversity of the characters, and I was just like, okay, so this one's this person, this one's this person, this one's this person.
Yeah.
I haven't got an issue with having diversity in Doctor Who, but to make a deal of it, that's where the issue starts lying with me, because you're drawing attention to something that may not need drawing attention to. So, for example, there's Rose Noble in the last story was there, and attention was drawn to the character because Conrad didn't believe that Rose should exist, but does. So making a point of trans people exist. But instead of giving Yasmin Finney something better to do, what RTD has done is made Yasmin Finney the talking point. And I would say, as an actress, if this were me personally, I wouldn't be necessarily happy about that. If I were trans, I would just want to exist and have storylines written for me, but don't draw attention to the fact that I would be trans. That would be me personally. Obviously, Yasmin, she may have a different view on that, but just drawing attention to it, drawing unnecessary attention to it, stopping the plot just to do things like that. I think that needs to be toned down quite a fair bit.
Fine, but I can see why Andy is saying what he's saying.
Sometimes it does feel like you're being lectured to. I think
Yes,
it really depends,
100%.
depending on, who you are and kind of how much involved and how invested you are in this episode.
I'm invested in Doctor Who, very much so, but my patience with this last series waned quite a lot. And the last one, I don't like being lectured at. I just want to be entertained. And the BBC should really know this, and Bad Wolf should really know this, and RTD should really know this. In fact, they do know this, but they're doing this just because they can. And our corporate entertainment holds the power of what we watch. So it would be up to us to choose whether or not we want to listen to it and watch it.
How does Doctor Who, like, the people over 40 still watching it and still wanting to relate to it in the same way? Like, you can't.
Or enjoy it. Just enjoy it and have that nostalgia. Maybe that's what Andy is saying. He feels alienated from even having that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you want to do. You want to enjoy it. You want that nostalgia. Everybody wants that kind of entertainment, no matter what it is they do. But these companies, these corporations that produce our entertainment, just go down this route and they do it because they can, and they think that they're doing the right thing. But in many respects, what it does is it ostracizes a load of people in the sense of the majority of people for no reason whatsoever. And then they switch off. And then because they switched off, it's their fault.
Yeah, but in the bits I have seen, I do kind of agree with him, because sometimes it does feel like you are being lectured to. I think in the few times we've had to watch it for must watch, because I never watch it by choice.
I never watch it by choice, and then they all laugh. That tells you all that you need to know. They're done with Doctor Who. They're done with the way that it's been run for the last two series, plus the Chibnall era.
I've come in and said exactly the same thing as Andy. So he's not imagining it. He's not alone. And, that I have always wondered if, how do you keep making a show if it is just lecturing at people and you're not just getting the time travel, space nonsense stuff?
Because he's run out of ideas. And he's a changed man. People changed over a long period of time, and there's been a lot of things that has happened in his life. And I think he's just doing it just because he can, and he can't think of what else to write. And maybe the show has gone just a tiny bit stale, and they need to pause and think of a new direction for it to go in without destroying the canon, without bashing it over people's head that you will listen to this message. And that's what they've been doing. And it's showing in the ratings and the viewings and people's responses, and the fact that the responses that from the left are coming in and they're saying that, and BBC are now starting to say things like that. The Metro are saying things like that. It just goes to show you that whatever is going on with it, it's not working. And you need to rethink what you are doing. Let me know what you think. Chat about it, don't chat about it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.